Yahweh.
Weed on it, thing poppin'. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. Tipper bags, I got tipper bags, yeah. If your service good, get a stag, yo. 50 grand, make your job disappear. I look the part, yeah, I look Davenir. Get my order right or I'ma bust a Yui. I don't like raw fish in my sushi. Want a big tip, better get the cooking. I am not paying you for all this lipping. Sapphire diamonds, yeah, they bluey. Put them around your neck, you look chewy. Blow 10 grand, please excuse me. Bless me real good, I need a hero cookie. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. Put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper.
They say the rap game dead, I object, that's a low blow. Taking copycatting off each other, that's a no-no. Keep this original or just not even no show. I'm a big tipper, when I spend it, I'ma flip ya. So girl, drop it really low, show them how we for the flow. Candy yam is stick and ball, feed me and give me
Welcome to the Power of Voices. It is the Comedy Hour Live, and as usual, you know me, Annamarie, your host, that's right. The funny lady who talks about whatever. 1 hour you got with me and my friend right here. I am just so happy to meet you, Ryan Gilderman.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, Gilderman.
That's
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
That's
Thinking about changing it. That's a little hard for comedy people to pronounce on a show.
Well,
I feel like it's too many syllables.
Yeah, you got to think about that. We talk all the time about names on this show.
Yeah.
And how important it is. Now, I'm going to tell you on is this your first radio interview?
It is not. No.
No? Okay.
But it's the first time I haven't really gone live on Instagram ever, but no. Not my first interview on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And as far as the comedy goes, I got to meet you at the show we did at the Ice House. Shout out Nancy Bellany.
That was a great show.
That was
Thank
a great
you, Nancy.
show.
That was a great show.
Yeah, man, she does a lot, give an opportunity to comedians that are just about a year in. And, you had talked about that. You're just about a year into this game.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I did it was about 8 years ago, but I didn't pursue it, and now I'm back doing it for about a year now. So it feels like I'm really going after it now.
Well, yeah, you better dig in because, as you know, in the industry, there is an enormous amount of it never ends. You don't ever quite, if you assume when you get their status, you're going to just get there and die because it's ongoing forever.
Well, that's positive.
Yeah, well, it is. It means diversify. It's a business.
Of course.
Nobody would, even Colonel Sanders had to add things to the menu.
Right.
To stay up with the times. And pretty much comedy is basically following everything that's going on and pretty much hitting it in the nerve of, shall we say, what society thinks is funny or not and being brilliant at doing that.
Totally.
We talk a lot about, as far as doing comedy shows, the different environments that you put in front of.
Yeah. No.
So have you found that the idea of getting in front of an audience and getting a vibe from the audience will determine your material, or do you stay with the same material?
I try to stay with the same material, and it's like I'm still a year in, so I feel like I know what bits work for me and what bits don't, and I know if I'm watching other comics go up there and I've seen them do their bits before and they're not doing as well as they usually do, I'm like, okay, well, I'm either gonna have to amp up my energy, or I'm just gonna have to try new stuff and I don't know. But I try to stay with the same bits usually.
Yeah, one of the things to do as far as when you're watching other comedians, I had a comedian that came on, and he's very much into standing in the back of the room and watching the other comedians.
Right.
Tangerine was another one. Shout out to her who said
Right.
that she really listens because she stepped out of acting into comedy.
Right.
And said that there's so much you can learn by watching your fellow comedian as far as timing, styles,
Totally.
you know, how they deliver their body, even body language when you're on stage. Someone made a comment about stepping out of your light. Now,
Right.
are you aware of where that light is? And I watched a lot of comedians do that on Nancy's show.
What you have
Stepping to the side of where your spotlight is.
to.
There's a whole stage up there that you
Well,
can walk.
that's a pretty big stage. I feel like the Ice House second stage is very like large, and you have people surrounding you. So on that show, I feel like I definitely was stepping out of the spotlight. But on a normal show, I'm definitely not. I'm kind of staying in one
well,
place.
you
I'm
did
not
see the
very
guy
active.
that was filming, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, there was a
don't pay-
guy on that stage. You should, because they have somebody that if you have, like, I asked you for a reel or
Yeah.
anything that you can do, and anything that's done on a cell phone, I can't
Yeah.
put up on the air because the
Right.
background noise is it's real sensitive to the equipment.
Totally.
But that guy filming professionally, what he's going to come away is your 3 to 5 minutes on stage that you can actually use when they ask for you to send a clip.
Right.
Which is, you know, America's Got Talent just had a bunch
Yeah.
of comedians that she was looking for to audition for that.
Totally.
What do you, are you considering something like that?
I'm considering it. I feel like my stuff right now is not AGT ready, because AGT is definitely like, you've been in the game for a while. You know, you have two different. I'm more set on just making people laugh right now. You know, like not blowing up as quickly as possible, because I think AGT requires a definitely clean material, non-offensive, just kind of that kind of stuff. And
Well, they had said there was a lot to that. One of the things, too, is also keeping when you're like, and they do it too, to keep the jokes to where everybody has public knowledge of what you're talking about. Like she had
Right.
said, one of the agents said that they did a joke about Denny's, but the judges didn't get it because they were from Europe, and there
Right.
isn't a Denny's in Europe. So you think about that when you're on a stage and you're doing your comedy, and you're in a demographic, you know, you're looking at your audience.
totally.
Yeah, because you do know Nancy casts the people for her show. It's not just like throw a bunch of comedians up on stage.
Totally, yeah.
She's aware of who her. You have to know your audience.
Yeah.
You don't have control of that when you step on stage at a club,
Right.
right?
Yeah, no,
So-
not at all. It's just it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, have you ever
honestly.
gone out there and looked out at the audience and gone, "Oh crap, I might have to change this up a little
Oh,
bit"?
totally. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about it. It also depends on. I guess it's the first joke you do. If that kills, that kind of sets it off for you as like, I feel like as a comic, like, you know, maybe the crowd isn't into weed jokes, so you don't do a weed joke. But you know, you self-deprecate, you make them comfortable with yourself, and maybe they'll warm up to the idea of a weed joke. That's my own personal opinion. I've tried that a couple times where it's like, I'll like, you know, make them comfortable with me. I'll crack it open a little bit, and then once they're comfortable, I'm like, okay, now we can go into the hard stuff. You know, that's kind of.
So as a comedian, okay, that you're doing stand up, is that where you're you want to do stand up and comedy acting? Are you? 'cause
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, definitely stand up, and writing. I would like to be on screen. I feel like I'm cute enough to do it, but I don't know. Like I never really took acting classes. Stand up has always been my passion since I was 16 years old. So that's just been something that I.
Well, I
wanted
want you to know, folks, he's got a lot of support. Your mom had an entourage, 28 people, and I know you comedians out there
Yeah.
dream of having 28 people come to your gig, because that's
Yeah.
you put put people in the seat.
But she couldn't tune in tonight because she was watching This Is
Right,
Us.
I wanted to say that, right? This Is Us is on.
You get
My
one.
son, you're out. I already know everything you got to say,
There's
right?
priorities, you know?
Right. That is hilarious.
Yeah, she likes to watch This Is Us. That's her Tuesday night shit. You
Yeah,
know?
you've been Trump.
Don't fuck around with This Is Us.
I had a friend who's they all went on a cruise, and the grandmother had a stroke or whatever. She gets into the hospital, and the first words out of her mouth when she wakes up is, "Who won Dancing with the Stars?" I mean, it's just like, really, is this what we've come to as a society?
I mean, that's strength. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, I knew you are.
You gotta know, honestly. It's
son, do they have those awards on another night? You know, my show's on.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's what.
Can we postpone a stroke, please?
Yeah,
Dancing
right.
with the Stars
Dancing
is on.
with the Stars is on. You gotta love that. But you know, it really is something to see as far as when you watch comedians do their stuff on stage, and then them talk about the difficulty in being in a one-on-one, like interviewing. And they said, you know, like I had comedians that have come on and they said, we're going to talk for an hour.
Right.
Don't you have this? I need bullet points. I need this. I said, no, you'll be fine. But that a lot of people think that as a comedian, you're on 24/7.
Yeah, no,
you
it's
know?
the worst. But also, about what you were just saying, I was a little bit nervous coming here. Like you posted on Instagram and it said like 1 hour of unscripted conversation, and that word unscripted
goes,
threw me off. And I was like, and then I just thought, like, you idiot, like unscripted conversation is just a normal conversation. What's wrong with you? I have like dumb moments where that happens, you know?
No, that is pretty much when you actually. When you talk to people about an hour of a conversation, first of all, with someone you've never met before, and everyone, I want you to know that I'm just meeting him for the first time. Our conversation was consistent of, I got to see you perform, and then it was like, hey, I'd love to be on your show. Here's my card. Give me a call.
Right.
So to say to people, you're going to sit in a room with a woman that you've never met, we're going to have an hour conversation. Not every man's joy. Just saying.
Hey. I was raised differently, all right? I enjoy a nice conversation.
Well, but with somebody you've never met, it's like most people get under that pressure of, but isn't that what we do with the audience in comedy?
Exactly. I mean, you go up there and they have no idea what you're going to talk about. It's incredible. They're like, oh, white Jewish guy. And I'm like, all right, well, how about we talk about ecstasy, guys? And they're like, what the fuck is going on now? Like, are you serious? Now, so that's what's the fun about it.
But you said you actually told those jokes in front of your grandmother. What is that like to be doing your jokes in front of family?
Oh, I mean, in front of my grandma, I've told dick jokes in front of my grandma. I've told
and he wasn't talking about Richard.
I told ecstasy jokes, and I remember like one of my first shows. My grandma said she was coming. I was like, Nana, I just want to let you know that it's not gonna be clean. I'm gonna talk about my penis. I might roast you. I might roast our entire family. And she was just like, she sits me down. She's like, honey, business is business. And I was like, yep,
the Jewish grandmother. If you think she would be upset, no.
Yeah.
That idea that and she would say that, and my grandson talked about his penis. It was hilarious, right?
The very proud Jewish grandma in the background. He talked about his dick, and we could not have been more proud.
Well, yeah, exactly, right?
That was the weirdest thing was too, I was nervous to tell the jokes about doing ecstasy in front of my mom, and I warned her, I was like, I'm gonna tell jokes about doing ecstasy. And after the show, because it was such a great set, she came up to me and she was crying tears of joy, which is the only time you could tell your mom, hey, I did ecstasy.
Heavy drug, right? Not just saying, I did ecstasy. Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
And not only that, I did it while I was sick, too. So.
Oh, shit. Really? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But something to be said about having supportive family. I mean, that can't be underrated ever.
It's not.
Supportive family and friends, especially in a career that you've chosen, where a lot of people's first intuition as far as like, oh, well, that's really good that you want to play it being a comedian, but don't you need to take, but you said your family is in the industry.
Yeah, so my parents met in the music industry, and then my dad still is in it, but my mom she does insurance now. But yeah, like,
and to pay for what your dad does, to pay homage to the fact that Nipsey Hussle you said that
He came into my dad's studio a couple times. They worked together. I don't know much about him. I know a couple of his songs, but my dad kind of helped paint the picture of what Nipsey was able to do for his community and how much he was like able to kind of, you know, like pave the way for young black men and black women, and it just was it's a like they said on the last show, it's a truly, it's a devastating loss for the community, for everybody's community. I mean,
yeah, you know, to see, that was one of the things where I'm familiar with some of the music, but obviously,
right.
And what they talked about, the immense impact he had, what he did, is like there's a lot more people that are proactive in giving back and doing to the community, to the community, and yet a lot of people don't know, because, you know, if you're that idea of owning it on Facebook, there's something to be said about, you know, getting people to contribute, and then there's like, hey, look at me, I'm doing this. He actually was a man of action, and
No, totally.
And
he's all about change in the community, and I think he belonged to a gang, but he didn't even identify with his, you know, he would work with people in opposite gangs because at the end of the day, they're businessmen. That's what I think he was quoted saying, like, I'm a businessman, that's why I'm working with this person. And you know, that's why there's so many people that had so much respect for him, even if they weren't in the same like gang or whatever it was. That, I mean, he was like a tremendous impact on the hip hop community for sure.
There's the industry, as far as what it'll build from, you know, like I usually ask some of my comedians, what you give back, you know, the idea of giving back to your community, the idea of being passionate about something where you could use your status to do that. And I mean, is there anything that you hold close to your heart that if you were able to give back?
Oh, I mean, like my goals go like past just doing stand up. I you know, one day I want to own my own club that I want to, like, this might be a little far-fetched, but I would like a percentage of the ticket sales every night, maybe 5% to go to a charity of the headliner's choice. So
I like that.
Whoever comes in, whether it be, you know, Joe Rogan, whoever it is, they pick the charity that they want to support in their weekend of headlining. And so 5% of their ticket sales would go to that. I've always believed in philanthropy. I've always believed in giving back. My grandma, who passed away when I was 7, started the John Wayne Cancer Institute.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've always been about philanthropy and stuff like that. So
I'm wondering if the benefit that they had at the at a hotel I worked, and it was the John Wayne. They were having an
it was
auction.
at the Beverly Hilton.
Yes, I worked that.
Yeah, my grandma did that, and my mom ran it.
Oh, so I met you without even knowing that. Yeah, because
who would have thought?
Who would have thought they had like little booths of people selling stuff, and at the time I worked for Gourmet Blends, and one of the gentlemen on that was from Heroes.
Yep.
Him and his wife, I guess, are affiliated with that, and he got up and he made a speech. I actually worked a gig at the California Club. I do bartending and stuff, and he was at some meeting of the men club, and I said, you know, I actually ran into you at that event, and that's just so profound that that was your family that ran it.
Yep. They ran that very event that you're talking about at the Beverly Hilton every year.
And I heard her make her speech. She's very, very, I'm telling you, that it's so good to feel, you know, people that actually, when you meet people that do give back and have more of a meaning to it than everything else that you read, as far as like, you know, I want to become famous. If you say, I want to make it big, I want to become famous, I want to get my bling, it's like, really? Because you should be doing it.
No, I've always had a higher goal.
I've
always had a higher goal. And when I was in college, we did one semester, we did a fundraiser for breast cancer. And I remember we were in our meeting, our fraternity we were in a meeting, and I think it was me, and I asked, raise your hand if you know someone who has been affected by breast cancer. And everybody in that room, there was about 80 people in that room, whether it was a distant cousin, whether it was their mom, dad, not dad, sorry, mom, grandma, whoever it was, everybody knew some person that was affected by breast cancer. And so that month we raised about $11,000 for a
That ain't too shabby.
yeah, for in 1 month for a charity called Breast Cancer Angels, which was amazing. What it did was not only did it help people pay for treatments and stuff, it helped the families. Like, it provided financial relief for the families, such as $500 to Uber to help them get from soccer practice, while their moms was in chemo. So it was a beautiful organization.
My engineer does the Uber thing and appreciates that.
Yeah. No. Is it?
No?
No?
He's moved on to bigger and better things?
I used to work Uber.
He started his own limo. You know what? I'm very proud of you. Another senior citizen like myself taking the world by the balls and going, yeehaw! So I started my own company. I like that about you, Lee. That's awesome. You have this thing, too, where I always say that, support your comedians because without them, life just wouldn't be funny.
Right.
And the boundaries and stuff for which we'll talk about on stage where, people are saying there's sensitivity out there they've never experienced before. I had a comedian go off. Actually, somebody, Naeem Lynn, had posted something, and somebody, he's getting all this flack. And I laughed because this was brilliant. He said, I'm going to come to your job, okay? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you that the lettuce on your sandwich, your burger you just gave me sucks. And I don't like it. And I don't like the way you served it.
That's a good one.
And, he has a really good point. Who people are getting, when you put yourself on Instagram, even as a comedian, you have to remind people, hello, this isn't, I'm not looking to make a valid. I'm a comedian.
Right.
My jokes are meant to be, as sarcastic, in your face, funny, and it isn't about I have to be political. There would be no comedy.
Right. Exactly.
Where would we be? Back to knock jokes? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, there's a specific there's a specific formula for writing jokes. I feel like, and a lot of people have kind of shifted from it because they're like, you know what? I'm going to tell something that I believe is truly funny, and I can stray away from the formula, and it's still going to work my way. And if we were to go back to the old way, it would just be a lot of people telling corny jokes that didn't work,
Well, you see the show, the Marvelous Miss Maisel, right?
I did, yeah.
One of the things, there was a female comedian who said, that show's bullshit. She could never, it's so unrealistic. Of course, I'm laughing going, It's entertainment. Yeah. No, actually, if you took the facts, okay, Lenny Bruce is one of the comedians that supposedly, brings her under his wing, gives her a spot. Okay, well, Lenny Bruce is one of the perfect examples about being in your face. He was arrested for what, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have... Red Fox had to do his stuff on albums, and that was like the album you brought home in a brown paper bag to listen to Red Fox because he was filthy, brilliantly filthy, just hilarious, dirty comedy. And to me, it's just like they had more freedom, even with all of that, as to what's going on today because we're so saturated with social media comments.
Totally.
About, really, you're sitting at your desk. I'm a professional comedian. You're telling me how to tell or write a joke.
It's weird. I feel like nowadays people go to a comedy club to be offended and they don't go to laugh anymore. It's sad.
I like that point. Yeah.
It's very sad. People what else? Why do you want to go to a comedy club? You go to laugh? People, their job is to make you laugh. Their job in the main part about a joke is the shock factor, the punchline. And it's
why the little old lady falling down is still funny. Exactly. Right?
So if I say what you're expecting me to say, then how is that funny? I'm here to shock you, I'm not going to go by the norm, and I think it's bullshit as well.
Well, you do realize it's coming from your generation.
Yeah, it's not me.
It's not you, but that's what they're saying, the millennials. Mm-hmm. Okay. Somebody had made a comment saying that, I talked about this on one of my shows that In-N-Out Burger was actually doing a diversity training on sensitivity and speaking to millennials and not offending them. And, I have my daughter's friends who are like, certain words, that might be offensive. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's like, do you remember in, the Wayans brothers when he did the special needs superhero. Now this is way before you Google it.
Okay.
But he actually does the he's a retired citizen.
Okay.
Who is a Superman hero, but he's super handicapped man.
Right.
And it just like people were like, "Oh my God, how can you?" And the explanation is everybody should be involved.
Yeah.
Nobody should be off limits. It's comedy.
No, I totally feel that because although I am not offended by it, I do find myself sometimes when I'm writing jokes and I'll be like, I'll send it to someone and I'll be like, I can see where this could definitely go wrong in my show. I was like, I could definitely see myself getting, someone talking to me about it after. It happened to me in a show. I changed the wording in my bit. I have this joke where this woman tells me that I look like her friend that just transitioned to be a man. And so I kind of go into that and I'm like what I used to say was the punchline was like, oh, I look like a butch lesbian. And I told that joke at a show and a woman or a group of women were like, you fucking wish. And
whoa,
I was like, it was like 3 months in. I was like, so then I get off a stage and I go to talk to my friend and I'm like, what was up with your friends up there? And they're like, oh, they're all lesbians. And I was like,
oh, okay.
Well,
but it's like you said, it's actually, do they go to the show to actually challenge?
Yeah. I was like, well, you're not a butch lesbian. You're beautiful women, like I'm not targeting you. I'm targeting myself, I'm not trying to offend anybody but myself.
Right. And that should never be something you have to explain in comedy. It's like ladies, this isn't an open debate. I've seen comedians that have to handle hecklers and, that's one of the things that I would not look forward to is having somebody, having something to say to me from in the audience, because before you go out there, you really got to know how to handle your shit.
Right.
When you're talking about jumping into the audience, because you can lose your set.
Right, totally.
I've seen
I lost them. That was the first bit I did, and I lost them. But what you gained was that lesson. Yeah.
They all talk about, you got a bomb. I'm like, the horror of that.
That's fine. You bomb, you get back up.
And that's why he is a comedian. This is the truth about comedians, because nobody else could do. Your average person to take that kind of rejection at a grand scale would fade away, be traumatized for the rest of their life. And the comedians all say the reason I'm going to get up, I'm going to do it better, I'm going to rewrite the joke, and I'm going to show. There is something in the DNA and the brain chemistry of a comedian.
Don't get me wrong, I've been crushed after I bombed.
Yeah, but you still
I went
got
home
back
and
up.
I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to quit comedy. But then get back, and then I wake back up the next day and I'm like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't the crowd. Wasn't the crowd for that joke. Let's try it. Let's do it again next time, We'll figure it out.
Right. To say that, and you also the competition too. It was really kind of funny. Like somebody says, you don't want to get into comedy because there's no money in comedy. I said, no, not unless you're either the club owner, where comedy has gone as far as. I wish there was a way to make it so that to be someone who had a comedy club. My dream is that if you had the ability to pay comedians in a way that. Because nowadays you got your people pay to come see you. Mm-hmm. Some of them pay to park. Then you got to have a 2-drink or 2-item minimum. That's a lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
So your friends aren't going to come to like 2 of your shows a week. It's way out of people's budgets.
Yeah, it's
even one show could be you're talking over $50-something for the night.
Yeah.
And then if you
that's minimum too. That's minimum because you never know.
Because you're having a Coke
Saturday night. They might want to drink a few drinks, and then they're dropping easily $150 at the club.
Right, and and how is it that comedians get paid when you have now they have as many people as they can for bringer shows,
right?
And the one with the most seats filled wins. And for a lot of comedians that have been on there was a well-known comedian on a BET, HBO, travels all over. And did bring a show and said he walked away with $15. And I'm like,
yeah,
are you kidding me? So there is this truth that if you're going to do comedy, if you don't do it for the love and passion of the art, you're going to get totally disappointed and
Yeah.
burnt out real quick.
Oh no, you gotta kind of you're 100% accepting the fact that you're not gonna get paid for a little bit. I was talking to someone I had a show yesterday, and he was like, someone came he came into the green room, and someone was like, oh, this is, I forget his name, but he's like, oh, he manages the club with us. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. He's like, oh, I don't really manage the club, but I do some things for the club. And I was like, well, do you get paid for that? And he's like, no, just stage time. And I was like, well, as a comedian, that's the best currency
Right?
you can get. Stage time. I mean, what, you if you run the door for an hour, you're expecting to get paid for that? Or would you rather get $10, $13 for the hourly rate that you're working the door, or would you rather get 5 minutes of stage exposure in front of a crowd that you don't even know?
Which, when you think about that, 5 minutes, this story that needs to be told. It's so fast, the time goes by. And in order to get the most out of your joke, 3 minutes is brutal.
Right.
No one knows how hard it is to get 3 minutes of a good laugh.
Oh, yeah.
The longer you have time on stage, the more presentation, the more work you can put into your joke. And that set up punch.
Right.
You're able to tell a little bit more of a story, right?
Totally. 3 minutes for me is about one bit, I think.
It's like a sneeze.
Yeah, I'm not a one-liner kind of guy. I mean, I have some jokes that are one line, but they all kind of go into a bit together, you know?
There's a friend of mine that runs an open mic, and he gives the 6 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. It's $5. I'll give the name. My comedian friend Rocky, Rock the Mic. And he's downtown.
Oh,
and to get that information, you guys go on to Rocky the Comic, and he'll give on his Instagram. You can catch and see where it is for you comedians. Actually, it's not just comedians. It's
Right.
just any artist. But he gives you a full 6 minutes. So that's something that is
That's
very
insane.
rare out there. I also know the Fourth Wall.
The fourth wall gives 10.
You pay for it, though.
Yeah.
Right?
$8 for 10 minutes.
And you can't leave.
But they actually do a very good job of making it so it's very short. You're there for like an hour.
Oh no, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that when you were the further down on the list that you didn't look out in an empty.
It's empty, exactly.
Room, because
which is the
he's-
best thing about
Right.
like it's also the worst thing about open mics is when people just leave.
Right.
It's so discouraging. It's like,
Well, first of all, I don't know about you, but getting up on stage in front of an audience, that is my open mics to me aren't where, I say, oh, you can work your bit in an open mic. And I'm like, that's the hottest place to work it because you don't know where the laughs are because
Right.
comedians don't really laugh. Let me tell you, that was hilarious. That's a compliment.
I feel like if you get a chuckle, it's good. Like you go back to it and you're like, okay, if it's complete silence, like some comedians can't help it. They're gonna laugh. There's things, if you have a good premise that's not like basic, they'll be like, oh shit, that's kind of funny, you know?
That's when you know you're funny.
Yeah. It's just,
If you do get that.
if you get a roar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, comedians.
But you can't ride that high.
No.
You can't ride.
No.
If you ride an
That's
open
when
mic
you go
high.
around, I killed it.
I killed
I did
at an
a
open
mic and I
mic.
killed it.
I'm basically Crystalia now. Like,
Right. That's really funny too. Is it's like the realistic expectations, and that in talking with some comedians, they're business people,
right.
and it's like, and it's an amazing conversation to have as far as stealing knowledge, and then you have the comedians that they're drinking, they're partying, they're there to be hanging out with the crowd. Getting up on stage is just an added extra to getting attention,
Right.
And there is no real long-term reality goal.
Yeah.
Those people, I'm like, damn, I wish they had their own club.
Yeah. I think the thing that both of those two types of comics share, and what's the most important thing about an open mic is getting up on stage. Is literally like you'll see the comics that like to party and the comics that actually are refining their bits. All they're doing at an open mic is getting that stage comfort. Your joke might suck, but as long as you're comfortable with it on stage, it'll probably work for for an audience. That's it. That's
And
what.
do you also understand as a comedian the differences in some of the rooms where you didn't suck because you didn't have this huge roaring laughter, but they were engaged. There was laughs. It was like you could feel they were watching more like a show, listening to you,
Right.
and not getting like the bigger room laughs where you have the energy that'll carry itself throughout the room.
Right.
And you've not failed on either levels. It was just a different, someone told me.
Yeah, I kind of felt that last night, actually. I went up. There was a couple comics that just crushed. They were insane. Some people were like gut busted. It was hard. I got nervous, and I went up there and I did a lot of the bits, and they got laughs. They were getting laughs, consistent laughs, and they, people, a couple of applause breaks, but they weren't like gut busting, but they were engaged in my set, and that was enough for me to be like, you know what, that was a good set.
Yeah, that's a huge psyche that you just tapped into, because if you don't do that, if you're like the person who's going to feel less and insecure about, oh well, I suck there, but because there's always, the comedians talk about that, sometimes following somebody that there's warming up the audience,
right,
and then there's the ones who come out and kill it, and then you got to go into it. And it's a total different energy when you step on that stage.
Totally.
Yeah. That's why one of the comedians I talk about, B.T. Kingsley, he likes to go, even if there's 4 people, he brings the same amount of energy, because he said you're responsible for that as a comedian. When you've heard a comedian say, well, it really sucked, the audience really wasn't there, there's a lot of the top comedians, their response to that is, it's your responsibility.
Right. Yeah. A comedian who was really good at that was Brody Stevens, R.I.P. I remember I'd only seen him once, but I literally, when he passed away, like I listened to like all his stuff, and I remember seeing him, and this room was dead. It was basically an open mic, but with an audience, and this guy just came on stage, and he just started, like, he just went out into the audience. He's talking to people, and it was just, he completely turned around the audience. And it was incredible. So the ability to do that is something that is like something I hope to do one day in comedy, is just be able to flip that room,
Because the idea of making people laugh obviously has been a joy for you, you said, since you were a kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so that calling,
Stage
when they say it chooses you.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Like that is throughout everything that you've done, that's the one place that this is mine.
I just always, when I wanted to do comedy, I knew, because I would always get this like amazing feeling, like it was almost like butterflies after I'd make someone laugh. Like what I'd do stupid shit, like just stupid shit to make people laugh. And I mean, I was a fat kid, so people would bean dip and bear claw me on the playground, and they would think it was hilarious. And although it was torment for me on the playground, I was like, they're making me laugh. I love it. Like I was able to kind of internalize that, the bullying and stuff. And now that's why, stuff I want to talk about sooner or later, but.
Oh, so it gave you some material, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to talk about the fact that my bullies apologized to me like way too soon. Like I'm not famous yet, it's bullshit to me. Like I was waiting to call them out like on when I made it on Fallon or something.
Right.
But like they apologized, and it was just.
So they took the thunder right out of it, right?
Yeah, way to be a good person, asshole.
Yeah. Well, no, I get to do that. I mean, I feel that way about a few things in my life where, certain people put limits, who do you think you are brigade?
Yeah.
And, it's just been, I was actually told by a woman once that, oh, you don't learn that it isn't always the Annamarie show.
Right.
And, I had this thing about being able to do what you said is you get, none of mine have apologized. That would close the X's
so
and
lucky.
the Y's.
You're
See,
so
that'd be
lucky.
saving it.
It's such bullshit, honestly.
Right.
I mean, they've all, like, every single one of them, they're like, maybe you'll be big one day, but let me do that and then come back when I'm ready.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that. I'm the football game where everybody, like the game the Patriots came back from the 24
Right.
You know, to be doing this at this point in my career where everybody else is giving up, they're retiring, they're ending everything.
Right.
To begin the life of sedentary bliss of doing nothing. Right? The worst fear in the world to me is like not having a challenge and doing nothing. You know, it's like, why are you here?
Totally.
Yeah. The idea of doing something that has no challenge whatsoever, which getting up on stage, I would imagine you're at a point now where it's not a challenge. It's actually a, I want to find a different word for it. For you getting up on stage, it's more or less like a building to get to the next thing. In other words, some people see it as a challenge like I do because I don't know anything.
A stepping stone.
A stepping stone rather than, you know, to the goal that you want to get. So
yeah, I would say that. I mean, I've always had an inkling for for being on stage or being on the camera. So it's just for me, it's a comfortable place, you know, like I wasn't good at sports. So this is pretty much it. And I'm kind of a lone wolf a little bit. Like I could have done improv, I could have done acting, and I tried them all. I've pretty much done everything. Like played every sport imaginable as a kid, sucked at every single one of them. So for me, it's just like this.
You want the kid crying, getting in his equipment. I don't want to do this again.
No, I tried, and they were like, I don't think you should be playing sports, like, which makes sense. White Jewish, I get it. It's totally fine.
Do you actually? I mean, that would be. Is that like a cliche? The
being
idea
white
of that,
and Jewish,
being white and Jewish
there's not a
and,
whole lot of white Jews playing any other sport besides baseball. So
now you can make that joke.
I have made,
but would you feel offended if somebody else made that joke? I mean,
I wouldn't be offended. I'd be like, if someone who wasn't white and Jewish said that, and they were like, "Oh, white Jews can't play anything,"
right.
I'd be like, "Well, I mean, let me tell them that."
Would you go and look up every white Jewish athlete so you could counter that?
Yeah, I mean, you could write it on a napkin. Honestly, you could write it on Donald Trump's hands. There's about 3, probably.
Really?
Yeah, no, there's not a whole lot of Jewish athletes. That's fine with me. I don't care. It just makes watching basketball, when they do get in, it's so much more fun.
Isn't Edelman?
Edelman is Jewish, so he's the one football player who's Jewish. Then there's a few baseball players. Baseball's like the one where you can be unathletic.
Right, you can be unathletic and still play baseball.
Exactly.
Yes, there isn't too much required in that.
There's maybe one actually Jewish basketball player, and then one that converted to Judaism. So I'll take that. I mean, he's a 7'2" black guy. We'll take it.
Can I ask you, because are you sensitive to that as far as like, you know, because this is how each group feels about certain things that I don't want you to say. Is be like, I can call my mother this name, but you can't call my mother this name. And that's what I was talking about. Like it's respect. It isn't sensitivity. Like I, as a white woman, I would never, the N-word would not fly out of my mouth ever.
I wouldn't.
I mean, I actually thought the idea of actually telling a story and doing a joke is having having maybe Nancy stand there. So every time that word had to be said, they have permission. I don't, and I would never use that.
Right. For me, no. I mean, like, I'm not offended.
Would your grandmother be?
No, because there was a comic that was saying that kike.
Yeah, that was on his shirt, but he was actually Jewish.
Yeah, and
everyone thought.
And my grandma thought that was hilarious.
Did she really? We had to. That was funny because we had to like. Oh, what was that? I thought it was Kiki.
It's Kike. Yeah,
Kike, but
with the thing over the e.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about the song "Kiki, Do You Love Me?"
Right.
And that's what came, because that song is like ingrained in your DNA from anyone who's heard it over and over again.
Totally.
But then they said, "No, he's Jewish. He does the Kiki." Oh, Kike. Oh yeah, and he even said, "I can wear the shirt. You can't."
Yeah.
You know, and he made that reference to it.
No, yeah, I don't like. I don't really mind any kind of
slander.
I don't know, like, because I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, white people do this and those kinds of joke, which I don't mind those jokes. I actually think those are funny. I laugh at them, but it's when you get like real specific when it's like white and Jewish, that's when I'm like, wait
a minute.
let me tell them that,
That's your joke
that's
to tell.
coming from me, you know. But I don't think there's a whole lot of people going like, oh, white Jews be like that, you know.
Well, I was told that, and this is, I'll never forget somebody said, if you want to make it in this town, and for whatever you do, there's two people you don't insult and you stay away from on stage, and and I'm like, yeah, they said the Jews and the gays. The gays. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever that means. Like, I'm not going to go on an insulting rampage ever in my life against either of the two, but good to know.
Yeah.
And there's also that other side of it where, from the black community, that you never have permission to use that word.
Right.
So I was like, okay, you know, that's cool. Now I get all the rules. You know, I'm Italian, so, you know, a lot of guinea jokes, you know, guinea wop wop. But, I mean...
I didn't know there was words for Italian.
Guinea, oh, yeah. The Italians, guinea wop wop. So, what dago. What else do they got? Yeah, and I mean, with all of that, like, I always take everything... I can tell when someone's insulting me.
Right.
And be, you know, saying it with malice.
Okay.
And that's the art of the joke, is you have to walk that fine line of saying something that is going to shock people, but you can't say that so that it comes across as judgmental or malice, like what you said. And it's such an art. I mean, people really don't understand the way that a comedian, when he writes or tells his joke, it's such a brilliance of words.
Right.
I mean, do you feel that way watching some comedians? Like, you're like, man,
oh,
that
totally.
was brilliant. I can't believe.
I mean, the art, the way that comedy works for me is that when I'm watching something, I either think, how the fuck did he think of this? Or how the fuck did he or she think of this? Or, oh man, I wish I had thought about it like that.
Right.
That's a truly good joke writer, is like, what is going on? Or that is the smartest thing I've ever heard in my life, you know? So yeah, it is an art form of the words, and to kind of cross that bridge and like say like, oh, I'm not trying to offend anybody, I'm not trying to say it with malice. Exactly. It's incredible. Do
you find as a comedian when you go to comedy shows, you're not as apt to laugh? Like I said, with comedians, it takes a lot to make you laugh. Like, I call them lazy jokes. Those don't make me laugh. When I hear, you know, it's going to be a dick joke, it's going to be, I mean, there's a certain thing that gets said over and over, just changing the characters. And then there's that, you know, what I'm listening for is that brilliance of telling a story in a way that really makes you laugh, but at the same time go, oh, shit. Right. It makes you think. Yeah. 'Cause to me, I feel that that's your job as a comedian.
No, yeah, I mean, I do laugh especially if I've heard the joke before, and I'm there supporting a friend, I will laugh 100%. Like, I know where the punchline is, so I know when to laugh. Just to give them that extra boost, let them know that I'm there, and to support them. I don't laugh at Trump jokes anymore. It has to be a really, really well-crafted joke, but at this point, they're all, like, pretty...
repetitious.
They're all the same thing, exactly. Right. Yeah, I mean, there are jokes that are... As I mentioned before, there is a formula to write jokes. And so if I see that formula in action, I know that I probably won't laugh. But like, there's just jokes that really catch me off guard that I don't expect at all, and I'll burst out laughing.
Do you have some favorite comedians that you, when you watch, that you grew up with, that you're just like totally inspired?
I'm inspired by George Carlin a lot. I don't consider my style anything like his, though. But I just I'm inspired by like his joke writing and it's just like his stage presence, and the
depth of his writing.
It goes deep,
very deep. If you didn't walk out of there, I was fortunate to see one of his last shows. If you don't walk out of there with like you being taught, this man actually teaches you about the world we live in, the one you're sleepwalking through, and educates you on just political policies, religion, and he actually calls you out on it.
He's one of those people that I definitely listen to, and I'm like, how
Thinking
the
man's
hell
comic.
did he think of this? That's the
Brilliant
funniest
man.
shit. Brilliant
and
man.
that's what I said, that ability to master words and to tell a story. Richard Pryor being able to tell
Right.
his story like no one else, do each of the characters, that talent. Then you have, is it Jay Farrow, who, his impressions are
Yeah,
like
he's
insane. He did one of Chris Rock, I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah. I feel like, and I think Jay is really funny, actually. And I feel like a lot of people didn't give him a whole lot of credit for his stand-up because he's actually a really brilliant stand-up comedian. But the problem is he was on SNL for so long, or I don't even know how long he was on there, but he did so many impressions on that show that when he started to go out and tour, people were like, what are you doing telling me jokes? I want to hear
Right.
the Obama. I want to hear this and this and this. And so I feel like it was hard for him.
Right. So they
You didn't hear a
stereotyped him
whole lot
into
of
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting as to if you're written into a corner as
Yeah.
far as you're gonna, because that's really hard to keep up
Right.
because you only have so much material that isn't gonna sound like redundant,
Right.
right?
Totally.
And that is something too, like actors fall into if they get a part that they can never play,
Yeah.
like Kramer.
Yeah.
He can never be anybody else.
Well, especially after he let the
Oh yeah,
N-word
See,
slip.
he,
Yeah.
he broke the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah.
Madman.
It'd be weird to see him at a comedy club.
It would be, but
It'd be really weird.
to even when they tried to write him a new series after Seinfeld was discontinued, they were like, he's not castable anymore because
Really?
he's forever going to be Kramer. Yeah,
See, that's what scares
George Costanza.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
character, he hasn't done very much. I mean, he's doing commercials, but
Right.
think about
That's
it.
kind of like the scariest thing to think about is the fact that, like, legitimately you could put your heart and soul into a character and, like, that's all
That's
you'll
all
ever
you'll
be.
ever be.
For
I mean,
20 years. For the rest of your life, you'll just be that one person.
well, see,
and it's
that's
so
good
sad.
that I'm getting into it now because I
Yeah.
don't have much on that the side of the lifespan. Even if
Right.
even if I outdo like the death and dying of disease or maybe
Yeah.
getting hit, about just the legitimacy of like you're right here and the other.
Yeah.
Look at how hard it not. How many comedy series have had successful spin-offs like Frasier?
Right.
Okay. Which came off of he was able to carry his character and how
Yeah.
like way before your
But then
time.
after that, no, I know Frasier. Yeah. Oh,
That is a technical term for you got how much time? 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
You have 4 minutes. Now let me
Okay.
ask you, where are you going to be performing?
I don't really. I think I don't have anything right now, honestly.
Okay.
So if any comedy bookers on here, I'm open.
Right.
I'm free to go.
And let people know where they can follow you. We talked about this.
We can follow on Instagram, Ryan Gilderman, RyanGilderman. And then Twitter at Ryan Gild Comedy, and Facebook is just Ryan Gilderman. If you want, you can follow. You could hit me up on LinkedIn. I don't really use it, but
Nice Jewish boy. He's got a LinkedIn. It
I'm
looks
on
good.
LinkedIn.
And
I'm on Spotify, but you don't want to see what I'm listening to. Snapchat. I'm on all the sites.
right. So I expect to be hearing great things and seeing you more out there as
I
far
am.
as this talent. Very funny. I got to see him at a show. I look
Thank you.
forward. I really do. I look forward to you doing more of what it is that you are destined to do.
Thank you.
And, I
Thank
expect,
you.
I live long enough to be on that stage of that club where I'm going to tell you where my favorite give back is.
Oh yeah.
And as far as my boy, hey, Lee, how is it out there? Huh? How is it out there in the limousine world? And if you need a limousine, please call.
310-400-6967, Elite Cars USA.
And you get that
We are
sexy voice
elite
with it.
and discreet.
Yeah, I like
What goes
that.
on in the back seat stays in the back seat.
that. And well, Lee, let me take down your number again.
Yeah, that's right? You protect the fat while they're whatever with the meat.
That's
You just unbelievable.
You know
Yeah,
how I roll.
stepping up and stepping
Yeah.
out. Yeah, we got to
Awesome.
talk there, yo. So thank you guys for tuning in next week. As I hustle up my guests, I hope to see you guys out there. You can catch the show again on YouTube if you happen to miss it. Take us out, Yahweh Poetics, Big Tipper. You can find that on Spotify. See you out there.
I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, I'm a big tipper. I'm a tipper, yeah, I'm a big tipper.